Hi, I'm going to share some information with you today about how some of the Deta Elis Bioresonance products can really help to boost your health, both to prevent catching common bugs, but also to treat them if you do happen to catch one. So some of you will know the company Deta Elis Holding, who are relatively new to operating in England, and they have created some fantastic mini portable bioresonance devices that look a little bit like this one here. Very small, they easily fit in a pocket. And some of you may have these devices. There's the Devita Energy, the Devita AP, the Devita RITM. There's also the BRT device. There's DeMatrix pendants. There's the DeAqua bottle. And have I forgotten anything? Not sure. So I'd like to spend a bit of time talking you through how to use any or all of these different bioresonance devices to boost your health, with a particular view to boosting immunity, preventing catching coughs and colds and corona and flus and all these things that have been around over the winter. And also, as I said, helping you recover quickly from them should you pick something up. So it doesn't matter at this stage whether you have one energy device or one DeAqua bottle, or whether you have all three mini devices or the BRT and the DeAqua or quite what. I'm going to just give you some pointers about how all of these can be useful. And then I'm going to point you to some downloads on my website that will show you documents like this that I've prepared to tell you where to find the programs on the different devices that I'm going to talk about. So I hope this will be a really informative talk. I'm going to do this with the use of some slides. So let me just, here we go, screen share. Good. So all the devices that I'm going to talk about and the documents that will be available as downloads, they're all on my website here, bioresonancegb.com. And here we go. This is the talk that I'd like to share with you. So we're going to start with the foundation device, at least what I consider to be the foundation device from Deta Elis. It's called the Devita Energy device, and you can see it here in this picture. And if you've got this, you'll know that it has 8 programs on. And these are particularly good programs for, at a foundation level, boosting your general health. But there's 2 programs I wanted to bring your attention to that may be particularly useful for building up your cellular strength and health in the hope of preventing catching things. So in the hope of boosting your immune system, basically strengthening your whole body. There's a program on here called the Energy program. And as you can see here, it's 41 minutes. One cycle is 41 minutes. Now, although this is not a program that's aimed at boosting the immune system or fighting any particular pathogens or illnesses, what I found from my experience of using this and in recommending other people use it and in using it with my kids is that if a person is boosting their cellular energy with the energy program, it seems to have the effect of really strengthening the whole body. So the energy program literally fills one's cells with energy. It plugs up the metaphorical holes in the bottom of a leaking bucket so that energy, instead of dissipating through those holes, can actually form a reservoir within our cells and give us the oomph we need to have the strength to heal or to fight illness. It also ensures the correct electrical voltage within our cells, which again is essential if we're to be healthy. So what I found is that if someone begins to feel a little bit below par and they don't have any other devices, then putting on the energy cycle and running it for many cycles, not just one 40-minute cycle, 41-minute, but setting it for 5, 6, 7 or more cycles, so it's running for several hours, will really begin to build up the body. And to give you some examples of this, for myself, when I first discovered this little device, I had had corona at the beginning of the whole corona saga, and I was left feeling really lethargic and slow and foggy and just ugh, and I really didn't feel myself, and yet I was over corona. I started using this machine and I could pretty much instantly, now I won't guarantee that everyone will feel a difference instantly, but I'm very sensitive to my body, and I could feel straight away something beginning to give me some oomph. I felt a bit like a mobile phone must feel when it's being charged up. I began to feel more inflated and stronger. And at the end of the day, I just felt a bit more myself. And a few days later, I began to think, gosh, this is really different. I'm really feeling very much stronger, more grounded, more myself, more recovered. And I got very excited because it was really making such a difference. And within a week, I was completely back to feeling normal, which was wonderful. And I've since given this to many people who've had either corona or flu or have been recovering from some sort of virusy illness. And everybody said that they bounced back in quite a wonderful way. Now, another example, I have kids, and usually that classic scenario that happens to so many of us takes place, which is kids keep going through term time, end of term comes, they come home for holidays, and immediately a day or two later go down with some bug or other. It's as if their system's been holding on through term, and then it all comes out just when we're trying to enjoy Christmas or Easter or something like that. So what I found is that if I put the energy device onto several cycles of energy, stick it in my kids' pockets at the beginning of the holiday, it's been quite amazing. They haven't gone down with bugs. They've kind of had that extra boost so that they haven't had to get ill. Maybe it's a coincidence, but that's been the experience so far. Now, I had somebody else use this, and after using it for 2 or 3 months, I contacted them and said, how are you getting on with that energy device? And they said, well, it's been amazing. In the beginning, I didn't know if there was a difference or not, but my entire family went down with some horrible bug. And usually whenever other people in my family go down with the bug, I get it too. But I didn't get it this time. And the only thing I've done differently is that I've been using this energy device every day. So that was another nice confirmation that using this energy program has had some effect in strengthening the immune system and strengthening the whole system. The other program that may be particularly useful on the energy device in relation to strengthening and building up against bugs is a program called the Health Program, which is a bit longer. It's 2 hours, 59 minutes, so basically 3 hours. And this is a program that's going to help harmonize the flow of energy through the organs, through the cells of the body to ensure better health. So if you have the energy device, you might like to work with these 2 programs, particularly either going into winter or towards the end of a term, or in any situation where you think you might need a bit more strength in your system. Of course, there's other programs on there that will also play a part, like the protection program that will guard your cells, protect them from the harm of radiation. And there's the Harmony program that will de-stress the system. And of course, ridding your body of stress will also boost the immune system. So if you have this device, do play around with it, do use it to your benefit, particularly the energy and the health programs. So you may not have the energy device. You may have the Devita AP, which means anti-parasitic device, or the Devita RITM, which means rhythm. If you've come for a scan with Dr. Yanis, he may have made you programs for both of these devices. So it may be that you have these and you're running your own programs on them, but you go down with a cold and you want to use these devices, as these are the ones you have to help you get over that cold. So before we go into these individual devices, I wanted to flag something up that sometimes causes a little bit of confusion for people. Each of these devices has 2,500 programs roughly available to use. And the programs are organized in family groups called complexes, and the complexes have names, for instance, active immune system or female health, etc., etc. There's lots of different names. And some of the programs within those headings are called things like anti-cold or antivirus or free breath or healthy breath. And if you look carefully at each of these devices, the complex names are the same, And a lot of the program names, not all of them, but some of the program names are the same. So sometimes people get confused and say, well, I'm playing the cold program on the rhythm device, but I haven't got rid of my cold. And what they've forgotten, and this is what I wanted to flag up, is that the work of the rhythm device is to restore and recalibrate and rejuvenate the functioning of our organs and body systems. So if you're playing a cold program on the rhythm, it's not going to be knocking out the pathogens that have created the cold. It's going to be helping restore your mucous membranes and perhaps your respiratory apparatus after the effects of the cold. So it's going to be restoring you back to good health. But for that to be optimal, you first need to knock out, to destroy and eliminate the toxins or the pathogens that are creating the cold or the illness. And that's where this device on the left, the AP, comes in, because the job of this device is everything to do with destruction, elimination, detoxing, pathogens, microorganisms, toxins. So if you have a cold or corona or a cough or a flu or anything at all that you're wanting to get rid of, the first thing we need to do, and this is incredibly important, is do our best to identify the pathogen that's responsible for the illness and to play the appropriate programs to get rid of that pathogen. Now, obviously, many people won't know the exact pathogen. And so luckily on each of these devices, there are some programs like antivirus program that will target a range of viruses. But the important thing is that if you have this AP device, that you find the programs on the AP device to try and destroy and eliminate those pathogens. And then if you're lucky enough to have the rhythm device, you can use the appropriate programs to build up and restore the healthy functioning of your cells and your organs. But you do need to make sure you know which one you're using. So having flagged that up, let's have a look at each of these. The AP device, eliminating device, is incredibly useful with all these common sort of winter bugs. I know here where I live, there's been quite a bit of streptococcus and staphylococcus going around as infections. And there've been, of course, lots of flus, lots of viruses, still more corona going round, coughs and all sorts of things. So if you do go down with any of these bug symptoms, as soon as you can, get out this device. And even if you're normally playing tailor-made programs for yourself or programs for something in particular, you can, for a few days, a week or two, however long it takes, you can deviate and play some of these other programs. So it might be that you go down with a cold, you don't know exactly what the cold pathogen is. So you play some of these programs that are what's called automatic programs. They consist of a combination of different programs to target different aspects of a cold. So there's one called anti-cold. If you think it's a virus, you might play the antivirus. For a cough, there's a without cough program. If you're having aches in your bones and more flu-y symptoms, obviously it's not always easy to tell the difference between a virus and a flu or a corona or a flu or a cold, but as best you can pick the appropriate program. Or if you know it's corona, you've tested positive, you could play the Stop Coronavirus program. Now, if you have the right program, fingers crossed, it should take an effect. And personally, I find it takes effect quite quickly. If it doesn't make any difference and you've maybe played the program a few times, then that's a sign that you haven't targeted the correct pathogen. So you might like to experiment and play the anti-cold as opposed to the antivirus program, or the anti-flu as opposed to the antivirus. What I find is that, for me, often the antivirus program works, whatever kind of buggy symptoms I may possibly begin to show. Once you've got used to this and you've got used to the sorts of things you go down with, you'll probably be able to find the programs that work best for you. But in the beginning, you might need to experiment a bit. There are some programs, if you want to not pick up something, so there's a without cold, an automatic without cold program, But then if you do catch a cold, you might want to play the anti-cold program to try and get rid of it. So I've put together a list, it's the list I held up earlier, that's available to download on my website, of the different programs that might be useful on this machine for coughs and colds and flus and viruses and streptococcus and staphylococcus infections, so that you can simply look at the document. It will tell you which device, so you can look at the section for the AP device. It will tell you the name of the program and the number of the program and how long it is. So, for example, these programs you will find, apart from the Stop Coronavirus, you'll find them all under the Active Immune System Complex heading, and they all have different numbers. The anti-cold, for example, is program number 1, the anti-flu is program number 2, and so on and so forth. Now, you can play this program, whichever program you choose. It may be 3 hours, it may be more. You can play it back to back if you wish. As I say, if it's not having an effect, you might want to experiment with some others. So the AP is going to be knocking out the bugs. Oh no, one last thing to say about that actually is there's a whole complex heading about coronavirus, lots of different programs around corona and some of the different components of corona. There is, if you get in contact with me, also a corona program that's been made specially for us that I usually give people if they come for a scan, which I mention on my document, a COVID-19 program it's called. So if you don't have that and you'd like to have it to upload to your machine, do get in contact. Now, when you've had a cold or a cough or whatever it might have been, it's likely that your mucous membranes, maybe your lungs, your throat, your nose, your sinuses, different parts of you may be left a little bit below par or a little bit irritated or unable to function properly. You might be congested or inflamed. So although you might be busy knocking out the bugs that are creating that, you might need some help to just return your respiratory membranes, etc., back to best functioning. So this is where the Devita RITM is so invaluable. It's full of programs to restore and rejuvenate different parts of your body. So in relation to coughs and colds and common bugs, you might want to play this anti-cold automatic program. And this is where confusion can happen, because a lot of people will see this and think, oh, that will get rid of my cold. But this program is on the rhythm. So it's not killing the cold bugs. It's helping restore the mucous membranes and lungs and breathing and bits and pieces associated with the cold to help speed up the healing process. There's a program called Immune Protection, which is useful to help build the immune system and protect you from some of these bugs. There's a program that's very useful called Free Breath, which is really restoring all sorts of things to do with breathing, especially if you've had a cough and you've had a lot of kind of spasmic coughs. It's going to help calm and quieten those spasms in relation to breathing. And then there's 2 automatic programs that are 5 or 6 hours that are useful to work with, not just if you've had some sort of bug, but generally to build up your body and to balance your different systems and organs. One's called Healthy Day and one's called Health, and they're both on this rhythm machine. They're automatic programs that consist of many different programs, but they're the kind of bread and butter of just bringing about better health, better balance, better strong functioning of your organs. So these are good ones to work with from a preventative viewpoint. If you've been playing these programs for some time, hopefully your system will be stronger. If you play the immune protection program leading up to winter, hopefully again your whole immune system will be stronger. And this plays a huge part in preventing catching bugs. And in fact, I haven't caught any this year, or since I've been using these devices, to be honest. So here we have the rhythm. There's many programs on there. These are just a very small selection of ones you might find useful following or alongside having coughs and colds to help the recovery. Now, you may not have these little mini Devita devices. You may have one of my favorite Devita devices, which is the BRT, the Bioresonance Therapy machine. You may have this on your own, on its own, or you may have it and some of those other devices. So I wanted to mention a few things about the BRT, because it's a fantastic device to have. And unlike those mini devices, it doesn't have individual programs, it just has one program. So you don't need to worry about which program am I trying to find, which bug is it, which what should I play? You just have to work with this one machine. The BRT has one 20-minute program that basically reads your body for disharmonious frequencies. So if you picked up a bug, the virus, the bacteria, whatever the pathogen is, will have a frequency that doesn't belong to your body. And this device is designed to detect those disharmonious frequencies that don't belong, and to turn them upside down, invert them, scramble them, and cancel them out so that they can't carry on doing their stuff. And the result of that is that the immune system is strengthened, the healthy functioning of the body is strengthened, inflammation is reduced, and pathogens that shouldn't be there are gradually cancelled out. And this is a fantastic preventative measure. So if you don't have any of the other devices and you have this, use it 2 or 3 times a week, use it for your whole family. You just have to sit or lie for 20 minutes holding on to these 2 metal cylinders with your feet on 2 metal foot plates. And you sit there for 20 minutes. It removes a lot of stress from the body. I always feel beautifully calm and kind of clear and light after using this. And whatever you've taken on, whatever stresses, whatever pathogens you might have picked up through the day will get cancelled out. So it's a fantastic way of ensuring continual good health. However, if for whatever reason you do pick something up, so maybe you haven't used this, or you've been at a conference or been in the city and there's been lots of bugs and all sorts of things around, and you picked something up, you can, at the first signs of symptoms, you can use this with a double program. You can play it twice back to back, which will have a stronger effect at cancelling out whatever might be brewing. And if you do it each day for 3 days, hopefully, nothing will take hold. If by any chance you have the energy device that I first mentioned as well, you can make this even more powerful by playing the energy program, the 41-minute energy program, at the same time as running a double program on the BRT. So that gives you a really good boost to blast away any pathogens you may have picked up. And if you have a more chronic condition or illness, you can simply use this each day. But I found this absolutely invaluable and completely powerful in helping kind of bug blast. So to give you a little story that happened to my family recently, we were going to meet my son and pick him up from uni, bring him back home, and he was ill. When we arrived to meet him, he had got some horrible kind of virus lurgy thing that a lot of people there had had, and we were there to stay for a few days, and we were coming back for Christmas, and we were hosting Christmas, and some members of my family are very vulnerable, so we needed to be bug-free in order to host Christmas. So we went out to meet my son, and I took all these bioresonance devices. I took the BRT, and I got him to do a double session. I may have got him to use the energy machine as well, I can't quite remember. And when we arrived, he was full of fever and wouldn't have been able to get on an aeroplane 3 days later, wasn't in a good state. So we did the BRT every day. And I also took out the Devita AP, the anti-parasitic device, and got him to, in between doing the BRT once a day, he played the antivirus program. I think it was the anti-cold program, but that contains the antivirus program in it. the anti-cold automatic one does at least. And it was quite remarkable. Basically, 3 days later, he was up and on the plane and coming back home and recovered very quickly. Meanwhile, I had been at close contact, very exposed to kind of coughing and spluttering. So I also did a session on a BRT each day and also ran the antivirus program. And I didn't catch this, nor did my husband. And we got back and we had Christmas and all was well. And I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been that sort of story without the bioresonance things. Everyone else had had that particular bug. It had lasted for 2 weeks. So we did pretty well. And this is the sort of feedback that I have quite often. I've also had experiences of going to conferences and going to trade shows where there's thousands of people literally walking around, many of whom will be coughing and spluttering. I've been on aeroplanes and places where there's a lot of coughing, spluttering, people up close together. And through doing either sessions on the BRT, if I've got it with me, or failing that, running the antivirus program, I've just not caught anything, whereas other people close to me have. So I can't recommend this enough. I'd love to give everyone in the country a BRT device. It's a pity I can't. It's such a wonderful thing to work with. Now, if you don't have any of these devices, worry not, move on to simpler options here. The DeMatrix pendants, you may or may not have come across these. These are little pendants, I'm holding one up here, which consist of a combination of homeopathic preparations, herbal preparations, inverted homeopathic nosodes, frequencies from the AP and the rhythm device that have been programmed in, and sacred geometry engravings on the casing. And this creates an energetic combination, which is very powerful, aimed at supporting 10 different parts of the body or systems of the body. So there are 10 different DeMatrix pendants. For instance, there's one to support the heart and circulation, there's one to support joints, there's one to support women's health or the kidneys and urinary system, and so on and so forth. But the ones that I wanted to mention today, as we're talking about bugs, are these three. There's one stop virus. I think it's been renamed as corona prevention now, which is very much about boosting your immunity to prevent catching viruses, including coronavirus. And it works particularly well in combination with this one, this blue one, which is called rehabilitation from viral infections, including corona. So these two work very well to boost you against catching a virus. And given that if there's a lot of people with viruses around, your body will be constantly fighting one off, trying to rehabilitate, if you like, from early signs of a virus. Having these two together makes a stronger combination. And again, there've been times when I've been without my devices, but I've just worn these two and I've not picked anything up. If you have had some sort of virus, then these two pendants work very well together, rehabilitation from viral infections, but also this one, interesting name, Detox V. This is helping to detox poisons and nasties from the body, including vaccine toxins and heavy metals. So it's helping build and strengthen the body's resistance by getting rid of the nasties that don't belong there. And in conjunction with this rehab from viral infections, again, it's a strong combo to help you recover and strengthen your system. So these are a cheaper option. They're very easy to use. You literally put them around your neck and you can use two at the same time. What you can't do is share them in your family. So whereas with the other devices I've mentioned, you could share them between family members, with these, they will adapt to your energetic makeup and you need to have one for each person who's using these. So you can either wear one or two around your neck or somewhere that's in contact with your skin. It doesn't have to be around your neck, but it does need to be in contact with your skin. You can put two on the same string, forgot what you call this. That's another option. So the DeMatrix pendants are a good little superpower that are very easy to use. And the last thing I'd like to mention, which might seem a little bit strange, is a water bottle called the DeAqua 3-in-1 bottle, which, as some of you will know if you've got this, magically and ingeniously can create hydrogen water or ozone water. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that when you drink water that's rich in hydrogen, or as with this picture on the right, you nebulize, you inhale hydrogen, one of the many, many proven effects of inhaling or drinking hydrogen, intaking molecular hydrogen, is that it removes free radicals, slows down cellular degeneration, it speeds up cellular repair, and it strengthens the immune system. It also helps detox the body and has a lot of other really potent qualities. But what I found many people have reported is that when they start drinking hydrogen water, and I found this too, they begin to feel more energized and they stop catching so many bugs. It helps release energy into the mitochondria of our cells and strengthens, again, our ability to have a strong immune system, basically. Ozone, of course, if you ozonate the water, and this happens through the electrolysis plates in the base of the bottle, in this black base here. Ozone water has antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antibiotic properties. So you can, if you're beginning to get a sore throat, you could gargle with it. You could clean your toothbrush head in it. You could use it as a mouthwash. If you're beginning to feel signs of a sore throat or a cold or anything changing up here, again, you could inhale hydrogen. And this has the effect of sort of nourishing, cleaning, feeding the mucous respiratory membranes. It also has a powerful effect in feeding the brain and the neural tissue. So one of the things that I did when I first had corona, I think I mentioned earlier that I was feeling very brain foggy and a bit as well as using the energy device. Well, not at the same time, actually. First, I used the energy device, and then I discovered this bottle and started using it. And I found that using the bottle to create hydrogen really cleared my mind. All the brain fog very, very quickly cleared. And I began to concentrate, and my intellectual faculties returned quickly, whereas they had felt all sludgy and horrible once I'd had corona. So hydrogen has a wonderful effect on the mind. And if you're someone who's taking a long time to recover from corona or some other virus, I really recommend working with this bottle. I recently had somebody phone in who didn't have any of the devices, but she had bought this bottle. And she said, oh, I feel like I'm beginning to get a cough, cold, sore throat, something along those lines. Is there anything I can do with the bottle? And basically, there's never any guarantees with any of these devices or pendants or the bottle. You never know how an individual will react. But I said, well, we'll experiment. Hydrogenate the water for 10 minutes rather than 5 minutes, because you have that option with the bottle. And that meant there was more hydrogen in the water, so more kind of boosting powers. Drink as much of it as you can. Ozonate some water several times a day and gargle with it, use it as a mouthwash. And when you've got a free moment, do some inhalations, inhale the hydrogen. And what I then heard back as feedback was that this had been really good and the symptoms that were beginning to emerge disappeared. So that was a really nice success story. And I have to say that's a reflection also of what I found when I've used this bottle. I've many times disappeared little tiny beginnings of somethings, especially around the throat area, by drinking more hydrogen or inhaling it. So this is another little tool which is incredibly effective, and I recommend working with. If you do have any of the devices, you can also run some of the programs, like you could run the energy program, hold the device against the water and program the water with those frequencies as well. But that's another story for another time. So here is one of the two documents I've got on the downloads page of my website, which you might find helpful if you have any of these devices and want to work with them. The name of the device is here. So we've got the Energy device, the AP, the Rhythm device, the BRT or the DeMatrix pendants. I haven't put the DeAqua bottle on here. This is the complex heading, so the heading on the device. You'll know what I mean if you've got one. And this is the name of the program you're looking for. And this is the number of the program. And this is how long it runs for. Some are very short, some are very long. So I'm hoping that can be a quick reference for people who might be coming down with something and just want to use any of these devices to help knock that on the head. I also have on my website a slightly longer Word document talking about some of this information that I've just shared with you in this talk. So they're both on the downloads page of my website. Here, one's called the Winter Bugs Program Schedule. That's what I just showed you. And the document is which programs for colds, flu, etc. So feel free to make use of those. Okay. So thank you for listening. I really hope that this has been helpful and that you can become masterful with using whatever devices you have. If you don't have any and this has sparked your interest, do look at my website or get in contact with me. I'll be happy to give you more information or to discuss whatever it is you need. Otherwise, good luck, have fun with it all and stay healthy.